Live, coming to you live and direct. You know it must be Friday because here I am hanging out with GodCloud again. So, well, it's been an incredibly interesting week in crypto artland. And one of the things that's been on my mind is wow, how things change. My name is Maxximillian. If you don't know me, let me introduce myself. I've been putting my art and music on the blockchain since 2021. I am blockchain agnostic. I love all the chains, especially art on Bitcoin, art on Ethereum, art everywhere, on all the networks, all the places, base, shape. I'm not there yet, but you name it. You know what I'm saying? I believe that blockchains are like people, they each have their own unique superpower. And as artists, whether you are a writer or a visual artist or a musician, there's going to be a blockchain that has unique features that are going to be just right for you. So, for people who are new to the space, I think it's important to remember that blockchains are like people. You don't really have to have an allegiance to one person. Just like you can have many friends, you can be friendly with many blockchains and many coins, many tokens. You don't date these coins, okay? Remember?
You don't marry them. You can still date a lot of people too.
And I'm here with my brother GodCloud. GodCloud, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
Yo, what's going on, y'all? GodCloud here, multi-instrumentalist, first finger drummer on the Ethereum blockchain, which I still think is the first finger drummer in NFT history. Don't think I currently, right now, no one has presented any evidence to the contrary. So here we are, GodCloud, first finger drummer on the blockchain. Multi-instrumentalist, multi-instrumentalist, like I said, was an NFT agent producer for a while back in 2021 to 2022. Now currently acting as a CTO for Malas Palabras Records. Facilitating a lot of different tech partnerships and whatever for the label. Oh, by the way, label founded by legendary comedian George Lopez, Santana vocalist Andy Vargas, and yeah, stoked to be here with my sister Maxximillian. We're gonna be getting in all them hot takes and hopefully enlightening you guys and bringing some fresh new perspectives.
100%. Well, we talked about it a little earlier on a Twitter space, but also yesterday, I was watching my one of my favorite artists in the space, DeSalter. I was looking at his timeline, and he shared a screenshot of an opportunity to purchase a pack that would allow an artist to post or mint artwork onto this platform. And I was really struck by how extractive that seems. And I understand that for a platform, and hey, a platform is a platform. It's something that's created to service or to make money or for many other things. But I feel like just because a platform serves art or services artists doesn't mean that they are on the side of artists or that they understand or are empathetic to artists' needs, or even that they have some long term plan for artists or that there's any interest in becoming any of these things to artists. It's an assumption that we make based on idealistic viewpoints of the world, which are totally fine. We have to be idealistic because that's how we define who we are as individuals. However, when we overlay our ideals on the world as we look out, I think sometimes there's a disparity between who a person or platform is and who we see they could be. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like this is definitely that situation. And I really want to talk about not necessarily what they've done because, hey, you know what? It's their sandbox and they can fling the sand around however they want to. And if we don't like how they play with their sand, we can just go play in another sandbox, which is what, that's an option, right? But the real conversation that I'm bringing to the table today is when a platform just has come to a decision that they are going to or need to pivot, what's the most generous way? What's the most appropriate way? What's the most beneficent way to do that?
Well, I think there's a few things you got to take into consideration. I'm going to look at it from like the founders' point of view first. So if, let's say, you know, I've got something and we're about to like do a complete 180. One thing that I think is, you know, the key element here is communication with your, you know, with creators on the platform and also with the collectors too. Let everybody know, like, hey, this is what we're about to do. And in relaying that information, I think you need to do it in a way that sounds direct, that sounds diplomatic, but not like, hey, we gonna do this and you gonna like it, but hey, we're doing this and this is why. We can't like either we can't sustain how things were going previously, or this is too much on the service for whatever reason, you know, whatever the reason may be.
You're saying like transparency. Share,
Yeah,
like to tell us why.
yeah, because it's jarring when, like, let's say you go to, you know, your favorite restaurant and all of a sudden like the sauce tastes different and they're just like, oh, new sauce, by the way, after you done bit into your food or whatever, and you're like, yo, what's up? And, oh, we doing the sauce different.
It's sugar-free now. We the whole store is now sugar-free.
Yeah, right. But after you've purchased and after you've eaten and you're like, what's going on? You know? And they just like, yo, it's that. It's that. You know? That's jarring. And if you're gonna do that, you need to make sure that it's known that it's not like up for debate, because this, like you said, this is our sandbox, this is how we're doing it. Because I think it could get tricky if you're trying to let, and for lack of better terms, let the lunatics run the asylum.
Now, let me jump in and interrupt with a follow-up on this little point that
Sure.
you're making. So in the talk that we had earlier today, which was, by the way, shout out to Rachel, good news. So one of the things that I heard, and you know, it's not for me to agree or disagree with another person's opinion, right? This was not her opinion, by the way, but it was just something that someone said. And I hear this a lot. Every time a platform makes a change that people don't want, which is a lot, someone always says, why didn't they come to the community and ask us what we wanted?
Mm-hmm.
So can you speak to that as well? Because, you know,
Oh, yeah.
because, you know, it's like these platforms, they benefit from our community-driven ethos and philosophy, and they wear it like a costume.
Right. Yeah.
But when
And
it's time to actually lift those community weights and do the community things, they're like, oh, no, I was just trying it on.
Yeah. No, for sure. So to that, what I'd say is when they first popped on the scene, they didn't consult. There was no like town hall. There was no like, hey, we're about to do this. Here's the town hall. Let us know what we do before we come out. Because, you know, even with NPR.live, that's what I tried to do. We tried to like really build in public, you know, like before things were really like 100% a go. We were like, hey, we got this thing here. It's kind of doing stuff. What's up, you know? And I felt like what ended up happening with us anyway was it doesn't make, I felt like people kind of lost like trust in it because off the bat it wasn't complete. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't all the way there. We were trying to build in public. We were trying to do that. We were trying to start with the town square before the thing was complete, you know? And I don't know if people just were like, it's not ready, but you know, there's some other stuff that happened along the way too, but that's not anybody else's fault, you know what I mean? But yeah, when these things first come along, there was no town hall generally. Like there was, I can't remember, you know, let's say OpenSea, for example. Maybe they had some meetings behind the scenes, or talked, some people did some, you know, some R&D groups and whatnot, but I never saw them come out and say, hey, we're about to launch this new platform or whatever. Like, hey, everybody, let's talk about it, you know, before they launched. So yeah, when people are asking like, well, hey, why didn't they come to us to talk about this? It's their prerogative to make those decisions because we're not in the board, we're not in the books with them. We don't know what's going on, you know, monetarily to even be like, you know, say like, oh, well, why don't you guys do this, do that, do this, do that. So from what I've experienced and from how I've seen businesses operate, I think only the people who are really in it know what the capabilities are. And when you start letting everybody do, you know, do a town hall, everybody suggesting ideas, that's gonna cause more chaos than good, you know, unless, and I'll say it like this, I'll say it like this, unless there are a few things where you're like, you know what, let's leave this thing up to the people. And it's got to be like a binary thing. It's got to be like a binary thing where it's like either yay or nay on having, you know, this button or this widget or some shit. You know what I mean? It's got to be something to that effect, I feel, because if you're letting people come up and kind of call shots on interoperational shit, that could just, you know, really either slow things down or cause a lot of chaos internally. So yeah, so that's how I kind of look at the like, oh, why didn't they come to us first? Some things, you know.
Well, you know, I come from a place where, so just to give an example, right? It never hurts to allow people to share their ideas on how they'd like something that you're actually building for them to use,
Oh yeah, 1,000%,
right?
1,000%.
And
Yeah.
when I do hackathons, there's all usually, like when I say usually, I mean always. There's always an inspirational talk at the beginning where someone, usually the founder, gives some direction and guidance, something to like pump you up, get you hype, and something to like keep you directed and focused through the duration of the hackathon. You know, might be some motto or some mission, right? But my favorite was from the base hackathon. And the advice was build something for yourself. Because if you're building something for yourself, first of all, it's going to be perfect because you're the user and you know all the things it needs, you know all the features it needs, you know all the problems it needs to solve because you're building something that you needed in the world. And you know, it solves all the problems. You can be passionate about it because it's actually something that you need. The benefits go on and on. But what happens with these platforms is you have people who are not artists building things for artists to use. And you have people who are not art collectors building systems whereby they believe the art collector will benefit. But in fact, ultimately, if the artist livelihood and the artist visibility and the artist's credibility is deprecated. And when I say artist credibility is deprecated, what I mean is there's this one platform, I won't mention their name, but they changed the language where it used to be that you're minting something. It's art, right? They changed the language and they started calling them posts. It's like I said, I'm an artist, not a postist, you know?
Post.
Yeah, I'm not a postist. I'm a fucking
No, true.
artist, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But by changing the language, they deprecated everyone. You're not an artist, you're a postist now.
Yeah.
You're not minting art on the blockchain, you're posting it like on Instagram or you know what I mean? And so that's what I mean when I say deprecating, right? They literally deprecated the artist from being, you know, because like I say, artists don't make posts, artists make art. So you have like these people, because that's one thing we have to remember is that these are people making these decisions. And their
Right.
mission and their need is not the same as the need of the collector because they're not collectors. They might call themselves collectors, but a true art collector knows that anything to the detriment of the artist ultimately is hurting their own bag.
So yes, and you know what? Like I'm thinking about the hackathon thing that you're talking about, and if I'm running a platform and I'm trying to figure out, and I'll tell you, and then this is something that was happening a lot. Like, I'm not a dev or anything, but I feel like I understand how both artists, I know how the culture works here. So if Debbie McDeverson is, like, hey, I'm building this, and I'm like, hey, dude, I see where you're going with that, but mm, mm, maybe not like that. And then I'll tell them why. I'll be like, well, look at this. Look at what's worked. I know what people like. I've seen what people have raged out about. So maybe let's not do that. So and if you don't believe me, let's go talk to a few folks. And then here I go getting a few people who I think, know what's up, but that's controlled. And I think, and I haven't been to a hackathon. I don't really know how hackathons work, but I assume that you have to like apply and they pick you. They like, it's not just anybody, right? It's not just like anybody who just be like, fucking around. And I
Right.
don't know what
No,
what
you're right.
levels
It's like
of
they
hacking.
announced what this is how it is. They announce we're doing a hackathon. They announce who the partners are because hackathons are always about using the new protocol, some new blockchain, some new tools, some new technology. The whole point of a hackathon is to build something with these new tools or this new infrastructure. So the partners are always like a new blockchain, some protocol, because they need us to develop things to make it useful. Otherwise, you end up with a ghost chain, technology that has nothing built on it. So the whole point of the hackathon is to like make applications and stuff like that to get people to use the network. And the money is usually paid by the partners to the people building stuff.
Okay, got it. Right. Okay. So yeah. So if you're gonna do it, that's what I was saying, like kind of like an R&D group. You like pick people who can do some dope shit. You're like, hey, let's figure this out. That's how I feel. Me like from a founder standpoint. And that's what I would do a lot of times. Like I would be the culture person for brands, for whatever. It's like, hey, listen, if you want to come in to the Web3 space, this is how I think you should proceed. And I feel if it was something to where they came on to like a big space of just anybody saying, hey, like we're looking for ID, and it's gonna be tougher to get valuable information on how to proceed from that. So yeah, I think that when companies or brands or whatever they're looking to pivot, they need to either get like a tight R&D group of people who they can vet and know, and that they know what's up, or they've got to be sure about what they're doing and either have people on the team who have done that or who have that mindset already. So
What
now you're Wednesday. She's back.
Wednesday?
No, Wednesday with her Jack Skellington and got some bat socks. Will you quit mean mugging, cutie? But yeah, and you know what? And now, don't wipe my kisses off. But from the aspect of creators, I want to say, because I look at it a few different ways. From the aspect of a creator, just like we were saying, you can't like think that, oh man, this platform is gonna do it for me. That this platform is what's gonna get me to the next level. Hey, I need you to be quiet, honey. Daddy's trying to talk, okay? Can you be quiet, please? Thank you. And you need to see how can I best use this tool to meet my ends, to meet the needs that I'm looking, that I'm trying to do. And generally it's how can I get the most bread out this thing? If you feel like your principles align, or like your method of your business process, if it works with that, then hey, go for it. Just like I was talking about with Drip, with me, I've got a lot of content in the bag already. I've got a lot of stuff. I've got hundreds of videos in the bag. And how I see drip is pretty fast paced, you know. Like people want a lot of stuff. They want, and not fast paced. They want you to be consistent. They want you to be consistent. They want you to keep bringing the heat, you know. And I've got hundreds of videos, so I can just do that. I can keep doing that, keep bringing it, you know. So drip works for me. Somebody who may not have a deep bag like I do, it's gonna be exhausting. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be they're gonna be overworking themselves trying to be consistent on this platform, you know. So keep that in mind too. And if you're on like I'm trying, I'm struggling to think of a way that it would work for you to need to buy something, to post on something. I'm trying to think of a way that would work.
I mean, bloody hell. You're gonna, it's like that is so no, just no. And you know, I didn't say this, but let me share my hot take, right? And artists, don't be mad at me, right, for saying this, because I know some of us must be thinking it, not only myself, right? But as an artist, this is the part that's hard, okay? This is the part that's hard, is doing the thing that's best for us long term. Even though it might be fun to tear off your shirt and shake your titties, it's not good to do it at a grocery store. You know what I'm saying? You know, there's a time and a place for everything, and everything doesn't last forever. One of the things that I find really disheartening, because it's happened to me too, is like, you know, it's just the way that the platforms go about changing their. It's about the way they go about announcing the change. I feel like it doesn't give it doesn't have to be harmful to give people an opportunity to voice their opinions when those are the people for whom you're supposedly building. That's one thing. But I think, you know, as an artist, we have each of us an individual responsibility to contribute only to the world that we want to see. And this is the part that's hard. I advocate doing the hard things when the wins are important and integral to who you are as a person. For example, I don't condone artists creating art and giving it away for free all the time, right? All the time or often. Because if you decided instead to monetize that artwork, and there's so many ways, I know that your life would be better. And I know that the world would literally be better, because monetized things have a longer lifespan. They just do. And the more people buy and invest in every little doodle or whatever you create, the longer that thing is going to stay alive. Every little piece of artwork that you create, and like, obviously, I'm not talking about low effort bullshit, so please don't at me. But every little artwork that you create, even, you know, shares of works in progress, it's a historical documentation of a snapshot in time, and there's value. And so I'm not saying that there's not a place for quote unquote free artwork, because if you're sharing a snapshot of a work in progress, in a way, you know, that's free art. However, in the right context, it can be appreciated properly in the right context. But it's up to every artist only to contribute to platforms and in the context that contributes to a healthy longevity, that contributes to your integrity as a person and who you are. It's a part of my brand. Artists should be paid for our work. Now, that doesn't mean that everything is all about money. It doesn't mean that I'm a mercenary individual, although I can be. But it's not about that. It's about, I'm a professional. And the difference between a hobbyist and a professional is how we approach gaining value for our work, an exchange of value. A hobbyist gains intrinsic value in the creation and so on. And the only difference between a hobbyist and a professional, I feel, in terms of like why this matters is that the professional has to uphold themselves to different standards than a hobbyist because it's how we survive. And I feel like places for free art are fine for hobbyists, but as a professional artist, it's not the place for us. So I'm not poo-pooing these platforms. I'm not saying they shouldn't exist, but as a professional artist, it's up to you to not be in those places that don't support you walking in the fullest version of who you are. And, you know, ultimately that's a personal choice and there's no judgment. However, I'm just saying, like, you put us all in a weird position when we don't walk the talk. When we talk about sustainability, but then we ourselves indulge in practices that don't actually uphold sustainability for ourselves, is when it's time to change. The platform changed, you got to change. And that's it. Maybe we will, because, you know, I didn't post any art on Rodeo, right? I haven't posted any art on some of the other platforms. There's a lot of platforms that are lovely to look at. I didn't post my work on these platforms because I'm a professional artist. And when I give away my work for free, a lot of it, I feel like that's not the right context for my art. It's just not right for me, right? So it's not a judgment thing. It's just about curation. I'm curating where I place my art. There might be some time where I come up with like a good reason to put it on some free platform. I can't think of what that would be, but I'm not poo-pooing free things. Just I don't think that it's a place for professional artists. And when platforms flip the script on us, because that's totally like Zora, they totally flipped the script on us. They went from being a platform for art to being a social platform. They totally flipped the script. They're allowed to flip the script, and we're allowed to walk out the door. And so that's all I'm saying is I feel like as an artist, it's our responsibility to know when to walk out the door.
Yeah, exactly. That's key there. Don't get comfortable being stuck in the same spot. Like, wells dry up, you know? This is a thing. Droughts come about, and for people to think like, oh well, because this happened here before, this is where I'm gonna stay. You know? Hey kiddo, daddy's talking. Hold on 1 second. Let me parent real quick. All right, I'm back. Sorry. Yeah, and like and just because these platforms switch up on you, it doesn't mean you have to accept that. It doesn't mean that's the new meta. And even with what I feel like a lot of people are going for is this like volume over quality, like ethos, where you can say, "Oh yeah, I just sold like or 20,000 people just collected my NFT," because that sounds cool, that sounds great, but you didn't make a dime off of it. That's not, that I don't see how that's like really like beneficial for anybody. And even going back to the old, to the old music industry, not the oldest, it's still kind of like this. Like I would see dudes being like, "Hey, $20 and you get every beat I ever made from now until I die," And it's like,
That's
yo,
doing a
fam,
lot for 20
yeah.
bucks. That makes
It's like, but that's what people were doing. And I know
I
a lot of us
know.
producers were like, fam, like, chill. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you're making this harder for everybody else? Because even if people don't take them up on that, they're expecting that from everybody now. Because now when people come
Mm.
to me, I had a guy one time being like, hey man, can you recreate a snare drum for me? And I'm like, $50. Like he's like for one drum. I'm like, bro,
That's a
you want
steal, monkey.
you want me to sit here and listen to this Rick Ross track and then from scratch? Like think about the level of alchemy
You
you were
only
asking
wanted
me to
$50
perform.
anyway, but okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, because I'm good. I can listen and be like, okay, it's these frequencies, it's this sound. Okay, I can whatever. Bro, I'm about to be walking out the door. Give me the $50. I can knock this shit out for you. So I get it and I play it. I'm like, listen, is that it? He's like, oh yeah, that's it. You think you can do these other three? Oh no. Oh no, man. Oh no. Sorry. This is done. But it's because people don't appreciate the craft because other people have been so desperate that they're just like, hey, like just give me anything because they're dying for that, you know?
Yeah.
Like I've got no problem holding out until I get what I'm asking for something. I don't think there's any shame in not in listing a piece for you know whatever for something you know for 10 and letting it sit until somebody comes along and grabs it. I don't think that there's anything bad about like, oh damn, well, I had this listed. Why has nobody bought it? Oh, maybe the price is too high. Oh, maybe this or maybe that. Like I'm not, you know, I don't think that way. I think
Mm.
like, damn, it's taken a minute. The right person hasn't connected with this, you know? Like and that this is real. Like I've sold, like I've probably sold 30 seconds of music. You know what? Let's do it all together.
Okay.
Let's say a minute.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like, yes.
Like let's say a minute 30 worth of music for like $6,000. Like, and I don't, you know, that's not bad. I previously I've never done anything really, you know, like that where it's like, hey, here are these snippets. What's up? You know, and like, oh, this is, you know, yeah, well, you know, whatever. So just because of that, I know that it's all about the story. It's all about the context, and it's all about the value you put around it. And you gotta maintain that shit, and you can't slip from it. You gotta walk in it. You gotta believe it. You know. So for these platforms to start introducing this kind of free or pay what you want, and I'll be honest, like Drip is like right on the edge of that. Drip House is like right on the edge of that like free almost, you know, like just get stuff in people's wallets mentality, you know what I'm saying? Um, but again, the only reason why it works for me is because I've got such a deep bag of stuff that I can just keep hitting boom, 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 and just keep running that up, you know. Um, but yeah, I really think that artists need to know their worth. And if they need to kind of get started somewhere just to get their stuff in people's pockets, use those tools, but understand that this ain't it. And for, you know, you're talking about Rodeo, which used to be Foundation. I think personally, for them to go from where they were to what they're doing now, I think is a huge step down. I feel like they didn't do what I'm telling artists to do. They didn't believe in their ethos enough because they were the high end thing. You got something on Foundation. Oh, I've got something on Foundation. You know what I mean? Like that was like the big deal. Now they're just like, yo, man, give me anything. Just give me anything. You know what I'm saying? Just hey, just come on, put your stuff up here. Da 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 da. You know, that's a big downgrade in my opinion. And if it was because they couldn't afford whatever, I guess it's better to stay in the game than completely quit. But I think that was a poor pivot, in my opinion. I think it was a poor pivot. In my room. Oh yeah, okay, kiddo. Daddy'll get some later. I can't hear
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the right way to go about doing something that isn't going to make anyone happy? I mean, this also happened with, there's another uh, group of really talented individuals, talented developers who developed something so cool, and they built this community, and like we're all so hype, enjoying the stuff they built, and then they just did a complete 180. Now this happened to me twice, two different, companies. And I say it happened to me because that's how it feels. Of course, they didn't do anything to me. They were just doing what they needed to do to stay alive. And this is kind of what I'm saying is, as artists, there's this perspective that we have is like, how could they do this to us, right? But they're just doing their thing. They're like Mr. Magoo, just going about their business, right? Doing their thing, and when you get in the way of Mr. Magoo, uh, you find yourself in sticky situations, I think sometimes, you know. So yeah, it's tough to navigate how other people should behave. However, there are some things that all of us can agree upon, like transparency is good, and it doesn't necessarily mean this is what I wanted to say earlier when you were talking about, I didn't want to interrupt you. You were talking about how important it is, as a founder, you're not asking for permission. Certainly not, right? However, there is a way to express what needs to happen or to express like the desires. I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of times in communication, sometimes it can help to go abstract, right? And have that abstract conversation about direction or about need or goals. And then the feedback that comes in is also abstract. But through these abstractions, you do get the intangible communication that happens through people's emotions. There's a lot of things that people want and need that maybe we can't put words to in that moment. But when people get abstract, sometimes it comes out really well. For example, right? Let's say I'm a platform and I have been an art minting platform. I'm a platform where you come, artists mint their art. It doesn't cost you anything. We have a grant. We've been taking care of your gas fees. You know what I'm saying? That's all gravy. We've been featuring artists. We've been holding Twitter spaces and on and on. But then we got this new like person or this new insight, and we were like, oh my gosh, our runway is about to end. However, maybe there's like this grant that we see that if we apply for this grant, it could save the company, give us another 18 months of runway, yada, yada, yada. But in order to apply for this grant, we're going to have to do some things differently because we're going to essentially have to build a new stack or involve some new products or whatever in order to apply for these grants. So it essentially involves building another product. And what I feel would be the best thing in the world would be to share these kinds of developments with the community and say, hey, everyone, in order to keep up with market conditions, or in order to get ahead of market conditions, or in order to take advantage of this shining opportunity that we see to extend and expand our company, right, we're going to develop this new product. We're going to use this and this and this. Tell us what would you like to see? Now, having a conversation like this, you're not really promising that you're going to build what the people want, but just by having the conversation, at least the door is open for the perfect solution that really does make everyone happy to come in. And I think ultimately this is about ego, and this is about being a fucking boss. Because when you're a fucking boss, you actually do value every individual in your community, because even that person who you don't know, you recognize they have the potential to bring exponential value to whatever you're doing. When you see your community truly as where every individual is valuable, you wouldn't miss an opportunity to scrape everybody's brain and at least give them a chance to help you solve this massive problem, you know? So I think what it comes down to is this attitude of, I don't need permission from the community to make these changes on my platform. No, you don't. However, you also don't need all the brilliant ideas, and you also don't need all the feedback. You also don't need all of the support to build your platform and to make these changes. But the feedback, the brilliant ideas, and the support is what makes the difference between groundbreaking platform that changes the lives of many and something that lasts for a little while and then fades away. But it's all about the attitude that the founder has and the attitude of the team, because I've seen it go both ways, and it always, always surprises me. But the only thing I can say is boss mentality. If you're a good cult leader, and if you're a good boss, you are a cult leader. And if you think you're not, then you need to go to boss school. Okay. If you're a good cult leader, you do recognize that you don't know who all the shining people are in your community. And you have got to constantly be serving the crowd. You've got to constantly keep that door open for the people who are willing to speak up, who really can help you build and thrive. You got to be open to that, I feel. And maybe you see through the crowd and there's nothing there. Maybe the ideas are, none of them are in alignment with your mission, but that all comes down to how much you share as a founder. If as a founder you were to share, hey, this is what we're up against. These are the solutions that we have come up with. Do you have any feedback? What would, what are your solutions? And maybe everyone goes, oh, wow, we don't have any ideas. But I don't think that's ever happened, because most of the time, what I've seen is when the runway gets short or the money gets short or whatever, there is some type of shame that I think some founders feel like, and they failed in some way. And I think, this plays back into like being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to say, even to hear yourself say, our time is up going down this route and we have to change now, or we're going to close our doors. Like, even not wanting to say that, I know that's like a hard thing to say, but those are the hard conversations that, if they're had, can bring about a solution that's greater than anything that could have come before without having faced that obstacle together. I just wish that, I guess what I'm saying is, what I'd like to see is people actually leveraging the community instead of wearing it like a cloak. And then also like community members not supporting things that are ultimately not sustainable. I think that's a really huge thing, because nobody could get away with any of this stuff if we didn't support it. Nobody's talking about that. Just, I think, because of the shock of the way that the news is announced. And, in all fairness, it is shocking because people are, this is their income. This is our income. I'll say I'll include myself, even though I'm not on these platforms that we were talking about. But, that's our income. I'm part of the ecosystem, like I say, I am a supporter of people. So if a person wants to put their art on a free platform, and it's somebody who I know, somebody whose work I like, of course I'm going to run and go collect it, because now I'm not supporting my artist friend. I care more about supporting the artist than not supporting a platform because I don't like their philosophies, right? But I think it's very nuanced, but ultimately, I feel like I say this every time we talk about problems, whether it's in the music industry or, in the technology space or the, financial technology space, whatever. It always comes down to, in my opinion, it's a cultural shift that needs to happen within the individual. It's an individual choice whether or not to put your art in a place that is extractive or, to leave it. These things are individual choices. But I think it's also important to like speak out and say, hey, I think this is garbage. Because last time, or like some few weeks ago, uh, there was another platform that flipped the script like this, and so many people were saying how good it was, and I was looking at them scratching my head like, how is it good? And nobody could say why it was good. They just kept regurgitating it's good for artists, but no artist was saying that. And I think that's the
What
problem.
platform was it?
Zora.
Oh, okay.
When Zora went to their new when they went to their new so Zora is the platform that changed their language to now if you go on Zora, they call themselves like a social platform, and now on Zora you're making posts. It's not art anymore, they're posts.
Yeah.
They totally changed the language. So, that was like one, and it's like it was the same thing. It's like we made these changes, here they are, and it was like totally not what it was, totally even just changing the language, and it's like it wasn't like they could ask what we wanted. It was like this was a decision that they made, but the rollout I think was terrible. And this is something that I think would be great is if a platform is going to change their offering completely, why waste all those hot leads? Why waste it? Why not, go to the community, explain what you're building, and find out, okay, this is the new shit we're building. Who wants to come along? Sorry, the other thing, isn't going to go forward. We feel really bad about that. But it just wasn't working. We have to, everybody understands that people need to make money. And so, there's really no shame in saying, hey, the runway for this project ran out. However, we're going to build something over here. Who wants to come? There is no shame in that. And you said the word desperate earlier, and it really hit a chord with me because I feel like there is a sort of a desperation, but I really want to use the word eagerness instead of desperation. I really want to use the word eagerness. There's an eagerness to be seen,
Mm-hmm.
and it's totally appropriate. There's an eagerness to be first because it's, being first, you get the biggest rewards, right? Um, but there also needs to be an eagerness to be valued.
Mm.
There needs to be an equal eagerness to be valued. I should say an equal willingness to withhold some value for oneself. It's really important because what happens a lot, and I can see it a mile away. And a lot of times it causes like fallouts in like professional friendships of mine. But you know what? I can't care because because I've had a lot of professional experience, so much. I've had a lot of professional heartbreaks. I've seen so much things go wrong. I've seen so much backstabbing, bullying, lying, cheating, contractual espionage. I've seen so much. I recognize all this shit. I'm like Sherlock Holmes looking 360 degrees around me. Like I see these things, right? So I've gotten burned a lot. So when I see these things now, I I know what it is. I don't go in that direction. But sometimes some other people who are around me, uh, they're not seeing the situation like how I'm seeing it. And, I'm like, hey, I want to grab the coattail and say, hey, don't step over that puddle. It's actually not a puddle. It's actually gasoline. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what
Yeah.
um, but it's, it's challenging because my friends and my peers, they can't live out of my head. They can't live off my experiences. I can only say to them, hey, that what you're doing, that wasn't I don't think that's a good idea, or that's not why I brought you here, I can only say, or because this is what I see a lot. And it's this: when something new comes out or there's an opportunity, there's like a pulse of energy that comes with that opportunity. And when you jump into something, you're like eating off that pulse of energy. But depending on that thing that you're kind of obligating yourself to jump into, right? So, like, for example, Drip House is a good example. With Drip House, yeah, it's sexy, it's hot, you want to get in. However, once you get in there, you got to keep up that game. You got to keep pushing out the content. And so it's like you have to be prepared to be able to make that thing work, right? And so I think that a lot of times with opportunities and platforms, there's like this energy that we feel when we see this opportunity, but then it's like, are we looking ahead? Do we have the energy within us? And are we sufficiently incentivized to continue the output that's necessary to keep that fire burning? Because otherwise, we end up just like spinning our wheels, putting a little something over here, putting a little something over here, putting a little something over here, putting a little something over here. 2 years from now, the platform's all shut down, and you got your little art like all over fucking everywhere. And what is that?
Sure, yeah. Yeah. No. And that, like I said, well, real quick, no, I want to touch on a few things too that you said, about that eagerness. And I feel, how can I phrase? So I feel like the eagerness to be seen, and the eagerness to, um how did you say that, not to or to be valued, rather. I feel like the roads to fulfillment for both of those is longer with the latter than the former. So if you're eager to be seen, you can be seen pretty quick. Boom, boom. That could happen like that. But if you're eager to be valued, that's going to take a little bit longer to be fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? So if you want, because and no, I'm not even going to get into like the definition of why I think that is. I just
Why? Because that
well,
was my question.
okay, okay. So, and I feel like to be valued, there's a lot of different like psychological elements from both sides that come in. I'm about to get fucking deep here. Forgive me. But for somebody to admit that they value you, I feel like there has to be they have to be comfortable enough to admit that they have like a deficiency in some area, to be like, hey, I'm not good at this. You are. Come rock with me over here.
Mhm.
And it takes a real motherfucker to admit that. Like, it takes somebody, like back when I was running kitchens, like for whatever reason, I was never good at like pizza. I could never like do the
Oh,
pizza right.
no.
But listen, if I didn't know the best pizza motherfuckers in town, shit,
I
I ain't
seen your
I'm
dough. I seen your dough, GodCloud.
yeah, but like this is, I've been working on this, like I've worked on it recently, but back in the day, I just could not do it. But I'm like, damn, you know what? I'm like, my bro Julian, he's sick on the pies. My bro Lewis, this dude, he could play guitar, he's a motherfucker. I'm like, yo, I'm like, yo, I need y'all to do, like, yo, y'all do the pizza for me. Like, bet. I can't, and I need y'all. It takes a motherfucker to be able to admit some shit like that, and for people to say that, hey, I value you, they have to either let that wall down, or you have to find somebody who has that wall let down, and those people are few and far between. It's hard to find those people. So yeah, so that's why I was thinking that the road to fulfillment on each is shorter with being seen, longer with being truly valued. So when
Mm.
you're presenting your stuff, you got to keep that in mind. And I'll tell you what, with Drip House, it took me a minute to really understand it, and not until I started leaning into the community a bit more did I start to see like, oh, okay, this is how it goes. You know, I started showing up to the spaces. I started participating a bit more in the group chat. You know, and I don't think if I hadn't done those things that I would have gotten the recognition that would have led me to getting certain things there. You know, um, and like I said, I was able to pay 2 months of my kids' tuition with proceeds from Drip House. So I'm like, all right,
Amazing.
y'all cool with me? Shit, y'all help me put the baby through in the fucking private school. All right,
So how
we
much
good.
content are you putting out then, GodCloud, through Drip?
I do 3 videos a week on Drip, and I've been consistent with that since I've been on it. So one time I didn't fix my perks, so I ended up having to do 5, but in 1 week, which is still, you know, just to flex on how
That's a
fucking
lot.
easy my bag is. I wanted to do a collaborative series for 1 week, and but I forgot to switch the rarity levels, right? And I was like, I'm gonna do all commons of collaborations that I've done in the past. But when I dropped it, they hit me up and remind me, they're like, oh, hey, you never switched your perks. So there's people who have donated looking for legendaries and rares. But if you just do all commons, then the people who have, you know, donated, you know, higher amounts, they're not going to get rewarded what they're thinking they're going to get rewarded. And remember, I had been advertising this as a collaborative series, but I was able to go back to my bag and pull out 2 more collaborative finger drumming videos to meet the need. Right then, like, and this was within like 15 minutes of it, you know, of me being made aware of the situation. So
Boss.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, bet. So that 1 week I did 5 videos, but I've been, you know,
Boss.
I've been consistent with dropping, you know, boom, 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 3 videos a week, every week, for going on, I want to say like 3 months now. You know, I've been coming out swinging cool shit each time, and I've been, you know, and I feel like they appreciate it. And again, that works for me. I'm in a unique spot that I can do that. And again, like I've said before, I know a lot of people can't do that, but I'm able to. So if you're able to go forward with it, but I think that it's like a muscle. You know, you've got to work out and work your muscles to be ready. So you don't have to, you know, when you gotta fucking help somebody move, you can just do it. You don't be like, hey, you know, let me bust some push-ups up, bust some push-ups out real quick so I can help you move this couch. No, always be doing your work, doing your stuff. So
Stay
when the
ready.
time comes, yeah, stay ready. So you don't got to get ready, right? And what I think happens a lot is people don't really have a business acumen. They don't know how to sell stuff. They don't, and believe it, it wasn't easy for me to figure out how to fucking sell sounds out of thin air. Cause think about that. What kind of fucking business is that? That's what we musicians do. It's like, hey, I'm gonna just imagine shit. I'm gonna just imagine these sounds, figure out how to fucking wrench them
Then I'm gonna
out of,
go
out of
woo 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 woo
yeah,
woo
right.
out of body.
Yeah, no, for real, right? It's like I'm gonna do this stuff, and then I want you to give me money. I want you to go work a job and then give me the money for the sounds that I was just like,
Woo, 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 woo.
yeah, you know, that's what we do. Like again, I gotta say it, like the level of alchemy that we have to perform just to generate revenue is insane, you know? So, but a lot of people don't realize, like, damn, I can do that. Now, how do I get high ticket, you know, not even high ticket, but how do I get like, you know, like a breadth of clients off this, or breadth of like different, you know, streams of revenue off of this?
Hold
And
on a
that's
second.
something
No, let's talk about high ticket. That's important. It's fucking important, GodCloud. How
yes.
do high ticket? Keep it there with the high ticket, please. Go
Okay,
forth.
keep it there with the high ticket.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
know why?
well,
Because that's the paradigm. That's a sustainable paradigm. I got to be honest with you. Just a case in point, you know, our friend Stilo has token gated his metaverse now. I went to go there yesterday thinking that I could just pop in or Wednesday, I went to go pop in,
Mhm.
and he token gated it with one of his songs that I don't have yet, so I couldn't get
Oh
in.
damn.
And
Oh shit. Okay.
it was $50.
Oh wow. All right. Well, yeah.
So,
Okay.
because remember, all the times that Steelo's been on the show, and I usually ask this because I'm always curious how everyone feels, temp check. But I'm always asking like, how much should music actually cost? So
Hmm.
Steelo's song, it's one single, it's $50.
Hmm.
And I feel like, and he has a limited number that he's that's available. And I don't know what he's going to do when those sell out, but it's not a huge number because Stilo is a fan of small numbers, sell out. He has a whole strategy,
Yeah.
a philosophy. So I'm just saying, like, when you say the high numbers, I think you should keep it there because I think that's what people need to start getting used to understanding. The days of buying a song for $2 should be over.
So how I see, you know, like me, I do a lot of different stuff. So when I'm thinking like high ticket, it could be even more. Like when I say high ticket, I mean like in like the 1,000 to 2,000 like range.
So
With
what does that look like for a musician?
I'm sorry for the what?
So you're saying, what does that, the question that you were posing was like, so what does that $2,000 item look like for a musician, right?
So when I see that, that's when I feel like you're getting more into like the service side of it. It might not necessarily be a song. It could be a song. But for me, when I if somebody is booking me for that, that's when we're doing some big business shit. That's when I'm helping you really get some shit popping. It might not be like, oh hey, let me get the super sample pack or some shit like that. This is when I'm helping you construct something that you were really looking for, and that's just stuff that I personally um, offer. But again, only reason that I can do that is because I've done it for myself. It's because I've been doing it, and I'm going to break a few things down too. So when I was saying like a breadth of like ticketed items, you can have your lower ticket stuff, and then that can kind of bring people in, and even generating numbers around that could lead to some other things, and then you're selling your $50 single, whatnot.
It looks like GodCloud froze. I'm sure he'll be back in just a moment. Uh-huh. It happens from time to time. Technology. I see someone is scanning the code, and I want to say thank you. I know GodCloud thanks you as well. My name is Maxximillian, and I'm here with my friend GodCloud, who he just froze up on us. I'm sure he'll be back. Let me see how it's going here. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be back in just a moment. But we are talking about the value of music. We're talking about the value that we provide when we are creating these high ticket items as musicians as well. What does a $2,000 item for a musician look like? What does it contain? I feel like when I first started looking at music professionally, like in terms of understanding that there are like collectors that were buying like masters. So when I was a little girl, that was like the thing is music collectors, they would buy a master, and that master would be the original analog recording. There'll be the original analog recording of a song, and that would be like the most highly coveted collectible piece of music that a person could have. GodCloud, I was just sharing that when I first came onto the music scene and I started looking around when I was a girl, the most expensive music item that a musician could offer was their master. And I was just talking about how like that
Oh, okay.
used to be the
Yeah.
most highly coveted, most highly priced music item. If you could buy somebody's master, right, that would be the
Yeah,
most expensive thing that you could buy. So yeah,
for
go
sure.
ahead. Go back
No,
to
no,
what you
no.
were
Yeah.
saying.
So, I was just breaking down like the services that, I offer. You want me to help like work on your record, or help you shit like, build your label or whatever you're trying to do. I'm charging for that. You want me to kind of sit and advise. that's money. I think that's like the highest ticket thing that GodCloud offers. You know what I'm saying? And then going down the list, you got, for me anyway, I'd say you got like the lessons and the sample packs. And I don't know, I guess some of my NFT songs have been like kind of in that around that same range too. Granted, like I've sold songs for, I say from like $25 to like $1,000, you know, and even in other projects I've been.
I want to backpedal.
Yes.
So, what was the $1,000 song versus the $20 song? So, what was that package of that $1,000 song? Please tell me.
That was the George Lopez track that we did. So you got the track and then you got the record with that,
A
right?
physical album.
Yeah, you got like a physical vinyl. And then another thing too, you got to take this how you want. But what I was talking about earlier, when I got paid, I'd say roughly around like $6,000, maybe more, maybe less, for those 30-second pieces, where I did 3 pieces with Sabet. And it was, 30-second piece of music, 30-second piece of music, 30-second piece of music. He did some visuals to it. And I got paid a couple grand just up front for that. But then we made more money after the fact of, releasing those and everything. So, just break down, do the math of that. It's probably like around, I say like 200 per 30-second snippet, And again, these were like old things that I had, like, I don't know. I'm probably saying like some stuff I haven't said before right now, but yeah, this is stuff from the bag. You know what I'm saying? Make it fit, make it work. There you go. So yeah, then where was I? Oh, and the $25 thing, that was my first ever finger drumming thing that I sold. It was like just and that was, what was that? How long was that video? I want to say that video was like a minute long. The minute-long drum solo, 5/4, subdivisions 3-2. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, boom. So yeah, drum solo of 5, and that, and then also too, like when I put stuff out on Record Shop, I did one thing for free, and then I did the rest of, I think I did each song. Damn, I'm really blanking out right now. I can't remember how much I charged for each piece.
But my question really is about, like, the $1,000 song. Now, that was like right around the time that I had just entered the space. I'd been in there wiggling around a bit.
Mhm.
And, that was like a highly collaborative piece. It was like a collaboration with like multiple well-known artists. And so, my question to you really is like, comparatively, as the creator, what makes you say this is $1,000 song? This is a $25 song? What are the different considerations that you may, include as you're making these decisions?
I mean, man, good question. With that one, it was the fact that we knew, because obviously we had George attached to it, we knew that we were going to be able to, and how the space was back then also, we knew that might work. That
What do you mean how the space was?
people were paying for stuff, people were paying for just whatever. People had money back then.
Money to burn, you mean?
Yes, exactly. So we figured like, okay, we could probably do this. This seems fair. And for the $25 thing, honestly, that was just a rant. Like, I was just like, let's see. That was just that, because that was my first NFT, you know what I mean? This was in March of 2021. And I'm just like, let's see what happens, Like, I had been teaching about NFTs for a little bit at that point too, but I was just like, hey guys, this is how you meant. I'm gonna set it for $25. See what happens, you know? That one there wasn't really any like me thinking about it or whatever, but yeah, I try to price wise, I think of who I'm gonna be selling it to, what the climate is like right then, you know? Like I think one of my last singles too that I was selling for around 50 bucks. I looked around the space and saw like, okay, I think I think 50's fair. I think that people can afford that. I don't think that that's gouging. And who who am I selling it to? I'm like, well, probably like my homies are gonna be picking this up. You know, people that I'm in spaces with, other musicians. So I'm thinking like, okay, 50's fair. You know, but and I want to talk about the record shop thing too. When I was using that, my ideology behind that was I want to go after not Web3 people. I want to go after my the people who were supporting me before I got into Web3 because it's a lot for them to get the wallets to get to swap the cash to crypto. It's a lot for them to do that. Record shop basically let me use credit card or let not me per se, but let them use credit card, you know. Um, and I think people get spooked when they see something priced in Ethereum because it looks just it looks unusual. They're not used to seeing, you know, 0.0073%.
Listen, let's just be like, people hate to feel stupid.
Yeah, yes, 100%. That yeah, people don't like
I
people
would just
don't
come
like
out and
getting over
say it.
that hump of like fuck, I don't know.
And nobody wants to not know, so they just go, "Fuck this is over my
Fuck
head. I'm
this.
done."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, I was going after those people. I was going after those people with the record shop stuff. So the first thing I did, it was free to kind of, you know, be like, hey, just put your email on the phone. Look at you, just got yourself an NFT. Look at you. Wow, this is your first one. Oh, that's so cool. Well, listen, since you're already here, I've got the record over here. And I can't remember I don't remember if I was charging. Fuck, and I can't even go back and look. I can't remember if I was
Why
charging
can't you
like
go back and look?
because record shop's gone. It's
And
gone.
and this is one of the biggest problems that plagues us today, and it's kind of one of the ways it happens is actually how we started this conversation today, talking about Foundation and their transition to becoming Rodeo. And like, of course, like Foundation, I shouldn't say of course, but it's still existing, but they're obviously going through some changes. But then there's other places that shut down where they're just gone. And then what happens, GodCloud? So like, this is a question. So let's say that I purchased one of those early albums of yours, and then like record shop is gone. So what happens now when I go to the link where I used to go to listen to the song?
It's gone. 'Cause I tried to do the same
404,
shit.
error 404.
Basically, yeah. Basically, yeah. Basically, yeah. And
So I spent money on a song that actually I didn't own unless I downloaded it.
unless which you know, I don't think a lot of people did. You could have moved it from the custodial wallet to your wallets. I think they were
And
built
that's what we should have done.
Yeah,
And
but a
that's what
lot
we
of
should have
people didn't
done.
do that. A lot of people didn't do that because a lot of people, and I'll tell you what also, it's because the way that record shop was laid out, a lot of the experience was from the interface of the website itself. Like a lot of how you interact with the NFT was all like built into the interface. So even if you took it from there to your wallet, you'd still have to bring it back to the site to like, you know, to look, because it would be like a card with videos in it and everything. It was really cool. Like that's why I was like, okay, this should, you know, this was
They were creating
awesome.
an experience.
Yeah. So the platform really was heavy with the experience. But yeah, so like I was saying, you know, with that, I was going after like my people who supported me before, who had been supporting me up until then, and they were accustomed with, you know, using a credit card, or even before I got like my website set up, what I would do is I'd be like, hey, like send me $5 and I'll send you a Google Drive link to like whatever.
Oh,
Like, yo, I was like, hey, what's up? Like, y'all like this shit? Like, yo, $5, I'll send you the drive link. You know, that's how I was running it at first.
it's almost like you were selling drugs. Darn.
You know it, but
Send me $5 on the city to drive. Like it's like I'm gonna put the baggie underneath the stone that's next to the front door where the broken flower pot is.
right. Right. But yeah, so you know, I priced accordingly for those people. So you gotta, how I'd say, you know, this might be stalker-ish.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
But if you're, and I'm just gonna give an example for like Web3 pricing or whatever.
Yeah, give me that stalkerish example.
Like kind of think about who would be buying your stuff. Just think about that type of person. And if you can kind of equate that type of person to someone you know, see what the last NFT they bought was. See how much they spent on that. If they've spent whatever, they spent $100 on something. It's like, okay, cool. Maybe I can get that. Maybe I can get that. How many times over? Well, let's see, how many people do I know who are similar? Do that. Stalk a bit. Do that research, you know? Be like, okay, cool. I know this many people who either have a certain income, who are, you know, and I'll tell you this shit too. Like I'm always like, all right, people get paid on the weekends.
Just got
A lot of people
paid
get paid bi-weekly.
Friday night.
So if the bi-weekly pay, I might call my cousin who I know gets paid bi-weekly. Like, yo, you get paid this week or next week? Next week? Okay. All right. So that's the bi-weekly pay week. Okay, cool. So you drop in consideration of that. So people have money. People might be like, oh shit, like, hey, yeah, I got a little dough. I'll cop that from you, you know. So these are all things that I consider when I'm about to put something out. Yes, think about who you're going after. Going after. Think about who your customer base is.
But we are, you know, because we're targeting them. And,
Right.
you
No,
know,
exactly.
it's like people always act like it's bad form to use this marketing language. But guess what? It's fucking marketing, people.
Yeah, that's
And
what it
you are
is.
targeting people, but for good. It's kind of like, you know, people a lot of times they say it like it's a bad thing. They go, "Oh yes, I was on the Google and I was looking at lingerie, and sure enough, 5 minutes later, I'm doing something else and the lingerie ad comes up." I'm like, listen, that's good. That's targeted marketing for good. They know you want to buy some panties. They want to sell you some panties. Hey, you know what I'm saying? It's the same black panties you were looking at. Look, they're on sale. This is how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to help us make it easier for us to do what we already want to do. I feel like properly targeted marketing should actually be a benefit. It should feel like a community service. You know what I want. As soon as you know where it's at, you're going to show it to me. That's good. So, like, when you say going after, you are going after, but the way that I see it is a positive. You're going after their highest delight. You're going to present them with the thing that you know they want at a time when it would be the easiest for them to say yes. This is all
Yeah,
good.
exactly. Yeah, and I can even say, how can I put this shit without getting in trouble? So
I can't wait to hear
like
what you're going to say. It's going to get you in trouble.
you know, let's just say back in the old days, I knew, like, this is gonna sound super fucking predatory, but this is what helped me,
I
you
can
know,
hardly wait.
this is what helped me get this shit down. Like I knew, like, hey, if I'm chilling with, like, I'm a cook or was a chef, whatever. I'm in the back of house. Let's say back of house. The servers just got tipped cash. The servers have been getting tipped cash all fucking night. I'm making friends with them because they've got cash on hand. And if I'm just in the right place as the night starts to progress, yo, hey, we're looking for that. I'm here, you know? And that's shit that I just kept in mind. So, like, I'm like, hey, I know who I'm chilling with. I know who I'm in circles with. I know what stuff to offer to who. I know who might be looking for something, you know, to what effect. And this is how, because at one point it's like people were like, damn, GodCloud, like, how are you always in the mix with something that's just, you know, seems super cool? And it's just because it's how I set my life up, you know? And I'll another little stalker tip here. this is how I got my connection with Reason, was that I found somebody who worked for Reason, befriended them on social media, saw that they were also a musician, and I hit them up and was like, hey, I like that you're doing that. Can I sample it for one of my finger drumming videos? And they were like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Took it, made the sample, was like, check this out. They loved it, they shared it. And that's how I got into conversations with Reason. That's how I got on their desk, you know? And after that, they started putting me in rotation quite a bit, you know? And now I get to, when they drop new shit, I get to test it. But
Sounds boring. Just kidding. I'm just so jealous. I'm so jealous. Go.
But that's the shit you gotta do, you know? That's how you get in those circles. That's how you be, you know, because you don't want to be seen as like you don't want to be seen as like a customer. You want to be like, oh yeah, this is the homie right here. Like, hey, yo, you think you, because now they're asking like, yo, can you do us this favor? Now you're doing them a favor. Even though when they fucking come to me for some shit, yo, I'm like, like I was going in for fucking ball surgery. And I'm like, hey, like I waited up all fucking night and knew they were about to fucking go all up on my shit, and was like, hey, I'm here, guys. You know, but they, you know, they're like, hey, can you think you can do this for us? But I'm like, I'm playing it cool, but in reality, I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest fucking shit to me. You know what I mean? But it's all about how you present. It's all about who you surround yourself with. So know who you're going after. Think about like what the experience is with the thing. Like if it's something really, really big, then I'm getting beckoned. But yeah, I hope that was like clear as I know I kind of went all over the place. But
no,
yeah,
totally.
know who your targets are, and build your social circle with targets. Like,
Absolutely. But this is important because then it's organic. It takes us back to what we were talking about, like the hackathon, right? Build
yes.
something that you're going to use yourself because it will intrinsically be perfect because you're going to make it perfect for yourself. And it's the same thing about like friends and stuff like that. You know, earlier we were talking about like divergent philosophies in terms of like what's appropriate and what's not appropriate to do. Like, I don't condone artists working for free. I actually didn't finish what I was saying about that. And it's just that the reason why I say it's not a good idea is because eventually the artist loses the either the runway runs out and you spent all of your time doing work for free. And so you literally can't do art anymore because you have to actually do something to figure out to support yourself. But if you actually had decided instead to monetize your passion, then you could do your passion for your whole life. I know that monetizing art is hard compared to being a dentist and monetizing your skills. There's so many other professions where the monetization piece is a lot easier to figure out. And you know, for any artist, it's not easy. However, there's a reason why, you know, I don't condone like working for free, and it has to do with my core philosophies as a human, as an individual. And so what I've discovered is that I actually can't have close friendships with people who don't think the way I do, because eventually they're gonna, uh, you know, want to do something or conduct themselves in a way that I can't support, right? And of course, they can do it, but there's sometimes that moment where the person is like, you know, they want your support no matter what they do, and I'm not able to. I'm not gonna do that, basically.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And you know, and you gotta. And this is what I feel like I've been lucky to be able to do, is to, I know if I'm attacking like this tier here, I know like, hey, I'm going to give you guys that for a little bit. Then I'm going to, whatever other tiers that I got to hit, I'm going to go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think like, I'm not about to beat this up so much. You know what I mean? I'm not about to keep going here, you know? So yeah, you know, like pricing, and also too, the one, I think one of the big things that I didn't touch on is that you do have to kind of build the legend of you up in some way, shape, or form, you know, and that takes time. That takes trials and tribulations, you know, that takes you either like winning or losing and framing that in certain ways, you know, like
I think it takes notoriety. Remember, we talked about
yes,
this
and that's
before about
yes,
notoriety.
yep.
Speaking of notoriety, can I just say, I have to definitely say, GodCloud, I know that before we went live, I shared with you that I had a special win today.
Oh yes, 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 yes,
And
yes.
so it seems like the perfect time. I want to shout out my collector, Big Comic Art. Thank you so much for collecting my artwork. I'm so super excited to be in your collection. I'm a fan of your work, and it's just very special to be in a person's collection whose, whose work and ethos and stuff you also admire. I got to meet Big Comic Art in person at Art Basel, and we hung out a number of times. So it just was really, it was so cool to see that someone resonated with my work, and then to discover that is someone who I also like as a person was really so special. So I just got to give a shout out and send everyone to go look at his work. He's he paints. It's like a combination of like it's mixed medium, it's paint, it's photography, it's so many different things, but it all comes together and it's got this unmistakable vibe. So go check out the Big Comic Art vibes. And this is, I feel like this was uh, my reward, GodCloud, for doing what you said. We talked about notoriety. I was looking for the notoriety in myself. I said, what is it going to be? What makes this artwork special? It's cute, but I made some interactive artwork. And I've been taking putting more of myself into the work as well, which it makes me feel more vulnerable. But
Mhm.
I feel like it's paying off. I feel like I'm doing what you said, and I feel like it is happening because, like I said, I got this new collector. Shout out to Big Comic Art.
Nice, congrats. Yeah, and that's see, because it's all about the storytelling, you know. It's all about like, and I'll take this shit back to fucking wrestling too, right? This shit got me like hot back when I was in the ring, right? Because and granted, like probably wasn't in the best like mental space back then. I was fucking crazy. I was a wild person. Like I was nuts. Like
Hey,
if
self-awareness is key. Self-awareness is key.
yeah, and you know, like looking back now, I'm like, damn, dude, like what the fuck were you doing? Like just dumb shit, you know. But people knew that I was like that, you know. And if I one time I got into it with this one wrestler, right? Well, couple things happened. I choked the guy out at Ring Crew because he said the N word, and I was, I didn't play that shit, so I choked his ass out. That got out. So now the kind of topic in the community was like, yo, like the racism, this and that. And this one kid he was like a newer wrestler, was like, training and everything. And this is kind of fucked up now that I think about it, but he's like popping racist shit online, just saying like it's not that big a deal or whatever. And then I call him out on it. So the company books a match with us. They
Right,
put
of
me in,
course.
they put me and him in a match. And now all this hype is built. They know that I have legitly choked a guy out. And now they're like, shit, he's going to be in the ring with this kid. And, we know, and the fans are smart. They know that there's a level of cooperation and whatnot, but matches can get what we call stiff. That means real, like you potato it's the hard hit. You potato somebody, they get their receipt. A little too hard. Now it's escalating. Now it's going back and forth.
Oh, now
Potato.
it's real. Got it.
Yes, now you got a stiff ass fucking match, but you're still doing it in the style of wrestling. But it's just everything is really hard and
As
really,
hard as possible.
yeah. So everybody's like, fuck, well, we just saw this shit go down online. We know GodCloud's legit. This little white boy's in trouble. We got to see this. Dude shows up. I'm in rare form, just, ready to go. He ends up bailing, just goes home, just leaves, doesn't even do the fucking match, just goes fucking home. And that right there, everybody was like, wait a minute, kid got so scared he left. What? And that just built, you know. So it's all the like, I didn't have to fight the kid. I didn't have to fight the kid. And the thing is, too, nobody even saw me choke the guy out. This is all just stories just going around, you know. So something that nobody saw, and then something that didn't happen, ended up getting me all this fucking notoriety in the wrestling community back then, you know. So it's even and now with music, with Web3, make it think about like how would you write the ballad of you know, like what's the drinking song of you that they're gonna sing in the
The
fucking pub
drinking song of me, I can get
from
down
here
with
on
that.
out, you know. That's how I look at life, that's how I've been trying to live, you know. And when once you've got that, the shit
Scottish
is,
drinking
yeah.
song.
What's that?
Once I've got my Scottish drinking song.
Yep. Or you know, whatever, like whatever. I always think of like whiskey in a jar. Like what is my like whiskey in a jar
Scottish
song?
drinking
Like, you
song.
know, yeah. I think it's Irish though, because then Lizzie did the cover. It was done by the Dubliners
Oh, you're
originally.
talking about a specific song.
Yes. Yeah, you never heard whiskey in a jar? Look up
But
whiskey
I
in a jar.
thought you meant actual whiskey in a jar. I'm like, that's.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes,
I thought you
both,
meant
all of it.
whiskey in a
But
jar as a genre of music. That's what I thought you were saying.
oh no.
You
It's
know how
yeah,
sometimes people
no.
describe music in like that kind of way, like,
Yeah.
crying in my beer, and I'm like, oh, you're talking about da, da, da,
Oh, okay. Sure.
But
Yes.
okay, I
But no,
got you.
there's
The
look
song,
into it
whiskey in
and
a
listen
jar.
to the
Got it.
words and think about like who's my Captain Pharaoh, who's my Jenny, what's my pistol, what's my rapier, you know, and like you know just and go forward. So yeah, pricing, marketing, ballad, it's all intertwined. It all will make everything, you know. Once you can
Timing.
look at it like that, yeah, and
The
timing,
timing,
yeah,
the piece about the timing, I think is like super, super important. Like, Bone Thugs and Harmony hit it. They said it's the first of the month. It's the
mm-hmm.
first of the month. You got to know when is it the first of the month for your people to put that thing out there.
Right, that's huge, that's key, yeah, hell yeah. But word, I know that was a lot of stuff, but
I love
that's
it.
that's my whole like philosophy on the shit, top to bottom, from you know like hey, from low ticket to high ticket, you know, like why are we gonna fuck with you? Why should I give you $2,000 to talk to you for an hour? And why should I pay you more after that to sit and be on call, you know, whenever we need something? You know what I'm saying? Like why? And then I can tell people why. Like, look, this is what I've done. This is what I built. This is what I brought to the table. I see over there you got that thing. Maybe you need to tighten that up. Well, how do we tighten it up? I'll tell you. You know. But also too,
Yeah.
I got sample packs for $20. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, that's interesting about the sample pack. Something for everyone. I think it's really important though that to have all those things. It's like because people want different things from us. So why don't we package it in a way that makes it easy for them to get it?
right, exactly.
So I know you've got to go, but before you go, maybe you can tell us what you've got coming out, what we should be paying attention to for you on Drip this week.
Yeah, for sure. I got a bunch of stuff coming out too, other than the drip stuff. So drip drop coming in about like an hour or so. And this one's gonna be fun. Is I just kind of stumbled upon I think like a Facebook memory brought it back up, but like a video that I did back in 2013. I dropped this drum and bass EP called God and Country, right? And it's just 5 tracks, like drum and bassy, kind of like dubstep stuff. And each track, I was like, I'm gonna take a week and make a track, and that's it. I'm gonna do this for a week, do the like perform it, mix and master it in a week. That's it. That's all the time I'm giving myself for each track. It's just a week. 5 weeks, put the EP out back in 2013. Did some fun videos for, I think, 2 of the tracks off of it as well. But I just stumbled upon this one. It's called God and Dollar. And I don't know, don't ask about the fucking name. I just fucking whatever. But yeah, like, you know, I'm playing all the instruments and everything on it. And really fun video. I was in the apartment that I was living in, and I just been like shooting, just, you know, me playing, doing all this shit. So I'm gonna post that. I think maybe as a common or maybe as a rare, I don't know yet. But that, and then another drum and bass joint. I'm gonna do. It's drum and bass week. It's drum and bass week on Drip from GodCloud. Long story short, but also finally finished with GodCloud on Doomsday. Gearing up to start doing a promotional re-release for that, or the promotional run for the re-release of that. That's going to be dropping on godcloud.org, and also working with Journey from BS. I don't know if you know Journey. He goes by Journey Meta. No, well, you know Trey Rail, Legault, right?
I mean, okay.
You know,
Don't put me on the
Legault,
spot,
right?
GodCloud.
You know Trey. He was on he was on our call when I was in Maine. It was me, you, Paul.
Oh, yes, of course. Gotcha.
Yes,
Yes, of
yes.
course.
But
Different
they
platform.
work.
I was like, what?
Yeah, they work together a lot. So Journey and Trey, like Journey's like, I think he produces and Trey raps, or they both produce. They work together a lot. But Journey hit me up. He's like, hey, let's do you want? He's like, you want to do a track? I'm like, yeah, sure. Sends me the beat. I murder the beat. Then he's like, dude, you want to do an EP? I'm like, okay, bet. And it's all these like sci-fi themed type beats. The record is called Urban Sci-Fi Music. And we're basing it off of the end of this Gumby tape that I have that has all these previews to all these Japanese animation sci-fi shows. So I'm thinking of each track is like the theme songs from that little like preview at the end of the Gumby tape, right? So
Oh
that
my
working on
gosh.
that's coming out soon too. And Paul Point and I are dropping the official video for our track Middle of the Night. I got that on the editing table, working on that right now. So yeah, I got the drum and bass drip drop today. GodCloud on Doomsday dropping in a few weeks. Urban sci-fi music is in the works, and the Paul Point GodCloud video is getting cut up too. So yeah, all that, everything, doing a bunch of stuff. It's all coming out.
Exciting, exciting times. Well, the GodCloud QR code is up there on the upper left, so definitely give that a scan. And you can easily connect with GodCloud and get your droplets and get your GodCloud drip. So also, don't forget to visit godcloud.org, where you
right.
can discover more GodCloud. Yeah, for sure. I'm just Maxximillian, and I'm really so super excited this week because I'm about to share some more art. So I've been creating this interactive art, and you know, there's many more steps to it than non-interactive art. But I'll be putting some more of it out. That's my QR code there, where it says one of a kind. That is from my Pepavaggio collection. But I also still have robots from the Museum of Robot Art. Both of these, this is art with utility, and you really can't go wrong. These are really gorgeous pieces, and they're all one of a kind. So as always, I appreciate your participation and your consideration. You could be anywhere, but you're here talking with us, and we appreciate you. I see that we've got, all right. I want to shout out Kane Mayfield and say thank you for rocking with us. And I got to thank my brother GodCloud for rocking with me. And thank you for sharing your insights. Really helpful, really valuable. I really love the way that you pointed out like how we can consider making our drops more irresistible. You know, I'm always about increasing to maximum irresistibility, because we all need the leverage, right? When we're selling these things. So that's it for us this week. And we'll see